It's always hard going from sitting at my desk in the court of law to sitting in my studio in the court of public opinion. And while a lot of these online controversies are serious, the CoryxKenshin thing seems a bit fishy to me. It's almost like I'm a little bit overdressed for this. Hey, this is future me. We were making edits on this video and then Panda basically took back everything she said and said it was actually about another ex. Like, girl, how many exes do you have that do this to you, that make you confused about something like this? Anyways, her profile is now private. So yeah, you should still watch this video if you want to see how a lawyer would evaluate her claims even before she took them back and how I kind of snuffed out that she wasn't telling the truth. Before we make any decision, we should look at the allegations and their context. Then we should look at Panda, who is saying all these things. And I want to weigh in her possible motive to bring this up 8 years later. And then we'll talk about what we learned about her character from someone who knew her around that time.
Annie.
Sorry. But first, let's take a sip of this Dr. Pepper real quick. First, let's talk about the allegations. She said he did the following things: emotional manipulation, love bombing, ghosting, gaslighting, and just being in a deeply harmful relationship with her. And there's this whole thing about him watching her in her sleep, but she clarified there was no SA or any type of touch or anything like that, right? She just thought it was weird. Fair. Oh yeah, and there's this whole thing about an Xbox message where he said he was gonna F up her life more, but even she said it was a joke, so it's not really an issue. All right, remember we've got two courts here, the court of law and the court of public opinion. In a court of law, none of this, if true, is illegal. Maybe she would be able to sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress, but it's been like, what, 8 years? So not really. What I'm saying is, if you believe everything she said about Cory is 100% true, all of these things, which I have my doubts about, and we'll talk about that in a minute, if it's all true, then he didn't do anything illegal whatsoever. But that's in the court of law. So let's get dressed down here to fit the court of public opinion. All right, so is gaslighting and manipulating your girl horrible behavior? I mean, yeah, if it's consistent and you don't change it or don't want to change it. Now, is it abusive or worth taking down this whole guy's career? Well, if you believe her completely, and it's a big if for a few reasons, then yeah, it's consistently bad behavior that he's not changing, and that's bad. But if it wasn't totally consistently bad behavior, then was he a bad guy or was he just making mistakes? It's hard for us to make that determination because we don't know the dynamic they had. Let's play out the two extremes and see how we feel about it. If he was gaslighting her all the time, extreme number one, and I mean like all the time, yeah, that's pretty horrible. That's kind of a nightmare partner. But let's take it to the other extreme. Let's say he gaslit her like once, all right? It sucks, but that makes it more like a mistake than a pattern, doesn't it? For real, guys, who hasn't gotten into a bad argument with a significant other and said something messed up and then apologized for it? Or how about with a friend or even a family member? Do we even know if Cory apologized? Was he even aware of his mistakes? Like, what if he knows about it and he's working on it and becoming a better person? All I'm saying is there are some lines that cannot be crossed: physical attacks, SA, consistent mental or emotional abuse, but one-off mess-ups with words where maybe he apologized and we don't even know, and maybe he's working on it. We just don't know. But Legend, we know it's abusive patterns because Panda said so. Did she though? Let's talk about Panda a little bit. She said all these things, but gave them as sweeping conclusions. He was manipulative, etc., right? She didn't really describe details, which I get because of privacy, but it makes me wonder. And we have to be careful here because we gotta make sure victims are heard. But what makes me wonder is, why now? Like really, what is the motivation? She said her motivation was to share her story with others and not to blow up Cory's career. But then why name names? It's not like he's a predator and you're protecting people from him. He's just, you had a bad relationship, that's all. So with her saying she didn't mean to blow up his life, but then clearly naming an internet celebrity's name, yeah, that's a bit odd, okay? Then I noticed her profile pic keeps changing. Like she can't decide what's the best look for the masses and people who are coming to her page. It starts to feel a bit like she's doing this for the clout, and that's, you know, horrible. Then her ex-roommate drops this video and says that Panda was a pretty bad person and is a consistent liar. Okay, in both the court of law and in the court of public opinion, character evidence carries weight and should be considered, especially if it's about someone's history of telling the truth or not. See, this kind of evidence can really negate a lot of the severity of Panda's claim. It doesn't mean it's 100% false, but it sounds like this. She was with Cory almost 10 years ago, and when he was in his early 20s. She started dating him, and he was starting up his YouTube channel back then. He was a young guy, and he made mistakes with this girl. I mean, he was maybe mean, maybe he was inattentive and ghosting her sometimes. We don't know the extent of it. Maybe he love bombed her to try to make up for it. We just don't know the details. They eventually break up, and 8 years later, he's in his 30s, he's got millions of subs, and she decides to make a video about him. She names his name. She sprinkles in some vague language about him doing stuff in her sleep, and then the video blows up, all right? Now she starts tweaking her profile to make it look better, and then all of a sudden she realizes, I bit off a little more than I could chew. Maybe she's worried about defamation, and if you saw my video about Hassan and legal mindset, you'll understand that she's kind of in hot water here. So she clarifies the vague part and says he didn't touch her in her sleep. Then she starts to get worried about being called a clout chaser, so she clarifies some more that she only did this to share her story with others. She didn't mean to call him out, and even though she named him and he never really did anything illegal, she just wanted to share her story. What do you guys think? We got to be careful with these things because you want to validate victims, you want to hear them out, you want to encourage them to come out, but we also don't want to end a man's career for allegations that might not be as bad as they sound. And even if they're as bad as they sound, they're not illegal, they're not abusive, they're probably just mistakes.